So welcome, members of City Market, to your member meeting. It's wonderful here to be in front of such a wonderful audience of such like-minded people in support of the co-op. Thank you so much. My name is John Tashiro. Hopefully, many of you may know me. I am the general manager at the co-op. And it's hard to believe that we will have already been here at the Echo location now for the third year. In just a moment, I'm going to hand over the mic to one of our wonderful board members, Joanna. But just before that, it's become, well, I think it's a bit of a tradition, but I think I've gotten to meet many of you over the years. I'm always curious to see how long you've been members of the co-op, and one of the things that you probably will have maybe anticipated is because of our South End store opening, we had a little over 1,100 new members join the co-op in the last year, which is fantastic. And with that, I think we have a number of newer members to our family here. So with that, once again, I've done this in previous years, so please bear with me. Just by a quick show of hands, if you've been a member of the co-op for a year or less, please raise your hands. Okay, great. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to your first annual meeting. Next, if you've been a member of the co-op for 3 years or less, please raise your hand. All right. And then I'd like to go to 5 years or less. Great. I'm going to take a big jump and a leap to 10 years or less. Oh, yes. I'd like to move to, I feel like I'm doing like a bidding game. I'd like to move to 15 years or less. And then the last one, because I won't go all the way to 30 or 40, or let alone 46, because we've been around for actually 45 years. If you've been a member of the co-op for 15 years or more, please raise your hand. Thank you for your support. I really should do the 45. Okay, I'll think of that then. So, excellent. Well, once again, thank you so much for all your support throughout the years. It's wonderful here to have this gathering. And with that, I'd like to pass the mic to Joanna. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joanna Grossman, and I'm a board member at City Market, which you already know because John just told you. I just want to start by saying thank you, everybody. I know John already thanked you, and more people thank you, but just thank you all so much for being here and being in... What's up? Can you hear me now? I just really want to thank you all so much for being here and being engaged members and just showing up and turning out and eating delicious food and being awesome. We just really appreciate that. All right, that was a little off script. So anyway, I said I'm Joanna Grossman, and I'm going to have our lovely other board members introduce themselves. Or I'll do it. No, you guys should do it. This is Julia Curry. Yeah, stand up. There you go. Eric Bohm. Jim Rudolph. Allie Kenny. Allison Searson's at home. She just had shoulder surgery. Let's all send her some love. Sarah Alexander. Charles Baldrige. And Fei Mack, our president. Yay! Thank you all again. So that was kind of that. We really appreciate your participation.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jim Rudolph. I'm the newest member of the co-ops board. I started my term in January, and one of the great pieces of this annual meeting is you get a chance to learn more about the different board candidates who are running right now to start their terms in January. So over the next 20 minutes or so, you'll get a chance to hear a few minutes of what the background of each of these individuals and what they what they want to do, what they stand for, and just a understanding. So the elections are October 1st through October 21st. So you can vote on site, as well as you've probably received a mailer telling you a little bit about each of the different candidates. But at this point, I'm going to introduce you to each of the different people who are running for our board. They'll go alphabetically by last name. First person will be Charles Baldrige.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. As Jim just mentioned, I'm Charles Baldrige. I am running for the board this year. My platform, as you might have guessed by the subtle design going on, is as an incumbent. And so we've had a great year. This will be, if I get elected, if you vote for me, this will be my third term. So that'll be 9 years by the end, which is great and exciting. And I'm really happy to have had the opportunity to listen to so many of you over the last 3 and 6 years and share those ideas. There are great things that happen at this co-op all the time, and I'm really happy to be a part of it and to be able to participate and to share what we're doing with all of you and hear the great ideas coming from you and share them both to the co-op, but also more broadly. You may not know, but we go to national conferences as board members, and City Market is really one of the leading co-ops across the country. And yeah, totally. When we go to those conferences, people look to us and look to you as leaders in the cooperative community. Some of the things that we're doing here really are leading the way. Things like Rally for Change started nearby here, but we were early on that train, and other co-ops look to us to say, how are you implementing that? What is a great way to do that? So there's all sorts of programs that we get good ideas too from going to those conferences. So it's representing you as members. We bring those ideas back and bring them to the co-op, but we also listen to the ideas that come from you and implement them at the co-op here. I wanted to talk I could talk for 20 minutes about the great things at the co-op here, but I wanted to talk about that Rally for Change for a second. As you go through the registers and you do that roundup, it's thousands of dollars. I think it's 20,000 plus a month now that is going into, it's great, it's awesome. And I want to talk to you about what's happening with the operations team, because as a board, we are policy governance. And so when that money comes in, we choose where it goes. But as we open the South End store, yet another yay, but as we open the South End store, it means we're not going to be profitable, which means there won't be patronage dividends for the next couple years. And as a board, we were thinking about what does that mean? That means that the seedling grants don't have money because it's always been our deciding not to take the patronage that goes to the seedling grants. The co-op is so creative and comes up with great ideas. Some of the money from Rally for Change will be going to that seedling program. And so those are the kinds of things that we can help nurture as a board. Sorry, I talked about the co-op mostly, but not me. I do hope that you will vote. There are not a lot of, every vote counts, and I'm done. Please vote. Please vote for your incumbents and some of these other great candidates as well. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Charles. Next person up is Caroline Keller.
Thank you. All right, so taking a little different route than Charles over here, but I just want to first off say thanks for coming out tonight to support City Market. My name is Caroline Keller. I'm a proud City Market member and member worker. I moved to Vermont in 2012 for school and decided to stay, having grown fondly attached to this community. So, thank you. So, again, a little different, but kind of a little bit about my life. Coming of age during this time has been quite momentous. Navigating, ever since I graduated in 2016, I have been navigating adulthood, trying to find my sense of self, my place here. I've been thinking a lot about life and purpose lately, especially during this crazy political climate we are living in. Looking back at the 24 years I've been alive, I asked myself if I were to die tomorrow, would I be content knowing I did all that I could do, that I pursued my passions, that I did not hold myself back because of fear. I stand before you tonight because I do not want to avoid challenges. I do not want my apprehension of public speaking or the self-doubting thoughts that I'm too young or not good enough to run to impede me. So I am running for the City Market Board of Directors because I see so many opportunities to strengthen a community I love. And I am also obsessed with City Market. My boyfriend jokes that he needs to get me blinders to get me through the store in under an hour. But what I would like to say are some areas that I would like to focus on if I were elected as a board of directors. First off, I would like to focus on reducing City Market's ecological footprint. I'd also like to address traffic at City Market downtown. I would also like to focus on creating a more inclusive experience for all members of our community, as well as greater education about food systems, specifically the cost of food and waste. And I would also like to create greater engagement with our co-op members and what it means to be part of the co-op. So I strongly believe that City Market is a pillar of our community, and I'm eager to learn and eager to contribute to its sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next person up is Fei Mack.
Yeah, is that good? Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Fei Mack, and it is my honor to be running for a third term on the City Market Board. I've served on the board for 6 years, along with Charles, and I became chair of the board earlier this year. I'm really proud of the work that the board does to represent our members, to work with John, our general manager, and to help oversee and direct the co-op as a whole. In my time on the board, we've navigated a lot of transition over these last 6 years. We moved from recognizing the need for a second store to actually opening the South End store last year. We've navigated leadership transitions. We've navigated increasingly complex finances and organizational structures as the co-op has grown in size, in the number of members, the number of staff, and in its impact that it has on the community. And this growth and transition isn't always easy, but what I appreciate is that we come to this work with great respect for the co-op and great respect for one another. And we all on staff and on board really learn from each other, we make decisions together, and we push each other when it's needed. And while I'm proud of the board for that, I'm even more proud of our co-op staff and of all of its members, because together we're turning a grocery store into a community and into a force for good. And that's what I really love about City Market and why I love being on the board. We know that we're all in this together, and we put that understanding into action. And we're not perfect at City Market. We have some big work as a board to do in the coming years. But we're facing that head on. We reach out to our community and to other co-ops, and we've been learning from one another. So for example, over the last year, staff at the co-op have all undergone trainings on diversity and inclusion. And this fall, we as a board are partnering with other co-op boards to do the same. That's work that I know is never complete, and I'm really proud of us for taking that work head on. We also have work to do to continue to grow our impact while making smart financial choices. We're facing some years of planned unprofitability, and in that, we can't just turn inward and only focus on selling groceries. We really need to continue to look outward, serve our community, and serve our members. Determining what to say yes to and making prudent financial decisions is going to be important work that the board will be part of in the coming years, and I really hope to continue to be part of that work. When I first moved to Burlington in 2008, City Market quickly became my second home. I got a job there within my first month, and while I left the co-op after working for a couple of years, I never really actually left. I hung around doing member work at the store, and then in 2012, I ran for the board. To me, the role of the board, and to everybody, is to represent the members, which is all of you. And I really take that responsibility seriously. I bring what I hear in the community to the board. I also bring what I hear in my work at Hunger Free Vermont and on the board of the neighboring food co-op association to the board. And I hope to continue to have that voice. So thank you much.
All right, thanks, Faye. Next up is Alison Oscar.
Hi, thank you. I am so nervous to be up here, but you guys are making me feel a little bit more comfortable because you guys are such a great crew, so thank you. So I'm Alison Oscar. I'm running for the board of directors. The reason I'm hoping to join the board is because I've had a long passion, like many of you, for food and community. I've had the privilege of working at some amazing organizations over the past 17 years in Burlington. I've worked at Shelburne Farms, NRG Systems in Heinsberg, and now at the UVM Medical Center in a financial analyst and supporting role. Over the years, I've worked with diverse teams and customers. Is this better? Oh God, I'm so sorry. I'm not gonna repeat what I said. It was just me talking about myself, so it's fine. Anyways, what I was gonna get to is talking about the diverse teams that I've worked with and customers, and I've loved the challenge and the opportunities that always brings. You can tell that the board's already a strong team, so it's kind of been difficult ramping up my energy to try to meet the expectations that are already really high for this board. I hope to bring my financial and business expertise, which is always focused on serving the local population first and foremost, my passion and joy for working with diverse teammates towards a common goal, and my desire to increase the co-op's accessibility and reach in the community, whether it be by further diversified products, broadened education offerings, inclusive marketing, or expansion via brick and mortar or online. Thanks, guys. I'm really nervous. I'm actually love working like more in a smaller team, more one-on-one than this speeching. I see the board's role as an important one. They need to act on behalf of the voice of the community while keeping the cooperative strong financially. They need to not only make sure that City Market succeeds financially in perpetuity, but that also the community succeeds as well. They need not to only think about the here and now, but what's coming next, both for the co-op and Burlington and Vermont as a whole. And that's all I've got for you guys. So thanks for this opportunity. I've been stretching myself. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Next up is Leah Soderquist.
Close, right? Hi, I'm Leah Soderquist. I'm a proud Burlington resident and member of the City Market Co-op. I'm running for the board of directors because I believe that food connects us. It connects us to our landscape, to our neighbors, and to our bodies. I'm a community impact manager at United Way of Northwest Vermont. At my work, I work at the intersection of business, nonprofit, and government. My days are spent advancing inclusive practices to ensure that aging Vermonters and individuals with disabilities can stay connected to community and have access to essential resources. My strengths of working across these sectors, of identifying shared values, and my ability to amplify the least heard voices in our community aligns with City Market's commitment to welcome all. I see City Market as a place for everyone. I will work to ensure that our co-op community can be reflective of our whole community. In my previous professional work, I've worked alongside innovative global businesses of a similar size to City Market to advance their organizational growth balanced with social responsibility. But it's my passion for local food that brought me to Vermont 8 years ago. I have farmed in central Vermont. I've managed a thriving worm compost bin in my tiny Burlington apartment. And I'm actively innovating on the next home fermentation project. I've witnessed the power of food to bring people together and to provide a platform for healing. I support the co-op's progressive thinking around food, nutrition, and agriculture, and see these as the keystones for a healthy and thriving community. As a serial potluck attendee and a frequent dinner party host, I see it as my responsibility to ensure that all community members can have access to these keystones. The influence and the impact that City Market has is grand and can't be overstated. As a board member, I will work to deepen its roots and amplify its impact. I have the skill set and the passion to support City Market's work towards strengthening our agricultural economy, to advancing healthy food access for all, and for growing the co-ops in alignment with our mission. It would be a joy and an honor to champion your voice on the board. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our last speaker is Michael Winters.
Hello, member number 16,000 here, but you can call me Mike. Micah. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, so my name's Mike. So here's my story and some credentials. So I first, okay, yeah. So some of you might know me from the Burlington Farmers Market. In 2012, I started a business with a partner of mine, and we ended up having 4 acres in the Intervale. And this is our 5th year growing. We took over Arethusa's, some of Arethusa's lands, if some people remember that farm, Thomas Case. And we started juicing all the produce in the Burlington Farmers Market. Ultimately, when I first moved to town, I fell in love with the Burlington Farmers Market, with the City Market, and I looked at all the photos of the farmers, like everywhere you look. It's like, this is where the food comes from. It comes from right down in the Intervale. It comes from just the next town over. And I was in love. And when I first came to town, I was like, how can I get into that? And I guess I'll continue on with the story. So I'm an attorney. So I've been practicing for a long time, 2003. And trial attorney. I did a lot of environmental permitting. And it got to around year 8. And I moved back to Burlington. I basically went to the co-op, and I'm like, I always wanted to be a farmer. So I did what it took. We started our own business, got in the Burlington Farmers Market, and haven't really looked back. We're doing the next chapter. So I'm now working for the Howard Center. I have a caseload of 15 clients, and I support them in the community. Long story short, if you elect me as a board member, I'll bring all of my experience to bear, and I will be the most accessible board member that I can be, approachable, very personable person. Any concerns, bring them to me, and they will be addressed. That's pretty much it. Yeah, thanks, guys.
So thank you all of the board candidates. And once again, as was said earlier, there's going to be an opportunity to vote here on site, as well as hopefully you may have received postcards about voting. We've heard there have been some delays with the Postal Service, but hopefully you'll receive them in a couple of days' time if you haven't already, and please do vote. I think I've shared this with many of you, I think, through our member newsletter, but really your vote matters. And I think that phrase these days means more than anything. But really at the co-op, you are the member owners of this co-op. I report to the board who is elected by the membership. And so please, we want to hear from you, and I really do encourage you to vote. Thank you. With that, I'd like to pass the mic on to Julia, please.
Thank you, John. And is Don SRAM here to come up? Come on up, Don. It's our honor, very distinct honor, to present the namesake of the Don SRAM Award and first recipient. Before I give this year's award, I wanted to ask if all the past recipients of the Don SRAM Award who are here could please stand up. Anyone else? So with this award, we get to honor members of the community and members of the co-op who are contributing in myriad ways to strengthen our community. And it's a huge privilege, and every year the board has to choose just one person, and that's always a very tough decision because we see so many amazing candidates. So I personally am lobbying to start giving more awards every year. I'm just putting that out there. But for this year, we are delighted to present the award to Ed Lincoln. And I believe Ed is here. Yes, no? Ed, will you join us up front? I'm going to read this and then I'm going to hand it to you, okay? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a preference for the order? No. Okay.
I hide behind you.
So I'm going to read this because it's so extensive and impressive. So Ed Lincoln began volunteering with New Farms for New Americans in the fall of 2016, a retired dairy and vegetable farmer from Randolph, and a relatively recent transplant to Burlington. Ed is one of those classic jack-of-all-trades types of people who has given his heart and soul to the refugee and immigrant farming community since he started volunteering with NFNA. He's been a champion for the program and its myriad needs. He's been working tirelessly to build relationships with existing and new farmers, secured plant donations, strengthened the infrastructure of the farm, has repaired irrigation systems, developed relationships with the participants who bring agricultural knowledge and traditions to Vermont from Somalia, Burundi, Bhutan, and Burma. Ed has taken his enthusiasm for food and farming and become a friendly and familiar face to the refugee farming community. He's volunteered hundreds of hours for NFNA and has brought both new ideas and exposure to the program. As Ed says, this is not about volunteering anymore. It's so much more to me now. His background, City Market learned a bit in the past when Ed was featured as a member artist. He had, prior to his farming career, he was a commercial photographer in Boston, in Providence, and in Woodstock, Vermont. Worked for a number of studios and newspapers. And then, since the 1960s, he's been a dairy farmer, house builder, vineyard owner, and refrigeration engineer. And now you're retired, right? So we're very proud to recognize Ed's work, strengthening both the community and the food systems in a really valuable way. And I'll ask Dawn to, present a token of our gratitude for everything that Ed is doing for our community and continues to do.
Wow.
There you are.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your awardee tag. Would you like to say anything?
We have lots of needs at the New Farms for New Americans, and if somebody would like a tax write-off, we need wheelbarrows. We need about 12 wheelbarrows. You can get them at Ace Hardware for $50 or $100. And you can see me, and I'll give you the contact information right in my pocket here. And so that's, you won't have to pay our federal government. You just pay New Farms for New Americans. And we also need a lot of transportation help. And we need somebody who's really retired and knows the bus services or can organize transportation or ride share, because we have 300 people who need a ride to the Winooski Valley Park District museum site, and they all have limited means. So if anybody really wants to step forward that way, please contact me.
So the co-op has been generous to give me a few minutes here. First of all, I want to say the requirements for the Community Service Award has gotten much tougher over time. I'm lucky that I got in early. I want to mention, you should all be aware that Christine, who's running as a Democratic candidate for governor, was the director of the Vermont Electric Co-op. I just want to tell you that I've been in many co-op meetings with her. She's very, very involved in co-ops. She was very helpful with the Keep ET Local campaign. Okay, here's the main point I want to make. Though Vermont is a fairly progressive state, most Vermonters do not seem to understand what a co-op is. Okay? At best, they think a co-op is something like Costco. This lack of understanding needs to change. So I'm asking all of you to make a serious effort to include co-ops in your conversations with your family, your friends, and your neighbors. First of all, co-ops are businesses, not nonprofits. Businesses used to take care of their workers and help their communities. Nowadays, very few businesses do. Co-ops, for the most part, do. When we spend $1 at City Market, we get good quality food, but we also know that we are providing our workers with a voice in how we operate and a living wage and benefits. We're also taking care of our community. First, we are strongly supporting our local farmers, bakers, and food processors. Secondly, we're strengthening our nonprofits that do so much to build our social capital. We're also doing what we can to help our community members who are most struggling and do all that we can to end childhood hunger in Vermont. John will fill you in with the details of our co-op's good work. My message is to you is to get the story out, talk it up, make sure that folks really understand what co-ops are and why they are so important to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. So next, I'd like to move us through to a portion of the presentation, which I think all of you are aware, we do a bit of a review of the financial year that just completed at the end of June. And to start us off, I'd like to welcome our board chair, Fei.
All right. Hello again. This is the fun part where I get to relax a little bit. So I just wanted, John was kind enough to give me a couple of minutes to talk a little bit about some of the good work that the board has been doing over the last year before we get into some specifics about the co-op's performance and what the co-op has been up to. And I just want to first start off by thanking all of you. Thank you for taking time out of your night tonight and being here, and for being members, and for your commitment to the co-op. We are who we are because of all of you. And so everything that I'm about to talk about, you have contributed to this and made it possible. So thank you. So almost a year ago, we opened the South End store, which was very long anticipated. This action, while it was momentous enough on its own, has also spurred growth in a lot of different ways. I'm not talking about that. Okay. So in addition to actually having another store, we now have more jobs. We hugely expanded the number of staff this year. There's more food to buy from local producers. There are more members who are joining the co-op. There are new and improved classes, a new community meeting space in the South End that was sorely needed, and even greater community impact. Our Rally for Change program continues to grow. We've been able to expand the Food for All program this year, and our investments in support in community events, initiatives, and in the local producers are all being able to expand. And John's going to share more detail about all of that in a moment. But first, I also want to share that we're also learning a lot, and we're adapting as we go. One area in particular of ongoing learning is coming from all of you and from all of the customers. So if you've been shopping in the South End store, you may have noticed that some of the products that are available in downtown aren't available in the South End. You may have also noticed that that's been changing a lot as we've been hearing from customers, hearing what people are looking for, and adapting to meet the needs of the shoppers. It's a new venture to have another store, and so we're figuring out what we need to have there. We've been able to expand the bulk section and add more products based directly on customer feedback. So please keep that feedback coming. As a board and as staff, we really appreciate that, and it helps us make sure we're serving you well. We're also continuing to invest in both of the stores to make ongoing improvements. So you may have seen beautiful murals and warm, welcoming signs go up in the south end. You also may have noticed the new beverage areas and the new areas in the checkout lines in the downtown store. So we're investing in both stores as we go. And all of that is our new learning and adapting. And one of the areas where the board has played a very key role in that ongoing learning is in monitoring our finances. It's not as much fun as what's happening, in the stores, but it's really important. And our fiscal stewardship has always been important, but it's even more important right now. Our finances have become a lot more complex, and the finances are tighter after making such a big investment in the South End store. So the board is closely monitoring our pro forma, which is the document that predicts the financial impact of the expansion, and we're monitoring it against reality of store performance. And what I'm really pleased to share is that we've consistently matched or exceeded the financial expectations for the stores. So that's really good news. That doesn't mean we're just resting now that, as we've been doing well. We've entered a period of planned unprofitability, and this is really common in co-ops after expansion, and it's something that we intentionally planned for. We expect to remain unprofitable for the next 3 to 4 years, and it doesn't mean anything is wrong, it just means that we made a really big investment, and it takes a little while to pay that off. In this time of unprofitability, we as a board are monitoring our finances really closely. We're asking a lot of questions, and we're working to make sure we stay on track while also staying true to our mission and ends, to our customers, to our staff, and to our members and community. Because we won't have a profit this year or in the next couple of years, that means that the board will not be issuing a patronage refund check. So that's something that's a decision of the board that we make every year. We've been consistently able to issue a patronage refund for a number of years, so we know that this is going to be an adjustment for all of us on the membership. But there are a lot of other benefits to being a member, and the patronage refund is just one of them. So, as Dawn was just sharing some of the great work of co-ops, the importance of co-ops, and as members, we together own the co-op. We also have access to free filtered water. We receive discounts to the incredible classes that the co-op is offering, and we're also able as members to give back to the community while also earning a discount for ourselves through the member worker program. So in this time of transition, I really invite all of you to take a look at all of the different benefits to being a member and take advantage of all of them, because there are a lot out there. The last thing I just want to share too about the board's work is that we're taking a lot of time to learn right now also. So we're monitoring and we're learning. And we're learning about the changing grocery landscape in the region and in the country so that we can make the best decisions for the co-op along with our staff. And we're also looking internally at our systems as a board so that we're constantly learning and improving. So this year, that includes exploring new ways to ensure that running for the board is accessible and that it's an inclusive process, and that when board members go to vote, they have the information that they need, or when members go to vote, they have the information that they need to make an informed decision. It also means that we're, as I mentioned earlier, we're receiving trainings as board members and being part of discussions with other co-op boards to make sure that we're learning about diversity and inclusion, we're talking about member engagement, and we're really constantly improving in that. This is a really hardworking board, and I'm really honored to be part of that team. And as a board, we represent all of you. So the last thing I want to say is that we really invite your feedback. We want to hear your questions, your ideas, anything that you have to share. We're here. We're here tonight, but we're also here anytime, and our contact information is on the website. So please reach out to us. We want to make sure that we're representing all of you the best that we can. So thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to John to talk about all the fun stuff.
Thanks, Faye. So, Faye really shared a great overview. Thank you for all the work that really all of you have made possible. So I just want to take you through some slides that will maybe give you a bit more of the sort of visual tangibility of all that. And then at the same time, at the end, really take questions, which I know that I suspect many of you will have. So if we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Okay. So these are some of the things that I'll be just touching upon throughout the rest of the presentation. So everything around our membership growth. So I talked a little bit earlier about how we have grown significantly. Now we have close to 13,500 members. So that is wonderful news, certainly for the co-op, and certainly a challenge for us to continue serving all of you. We certainly want to talk about our staff. We talk about how much we value our staff. Now, close to 350 staff. And just phenomenal. And really, for this evening tonight, it was a collaborative effort across the entire staff. So thank you to them. In terms of sales growth, Fei talked about how we are meeting, if not exceeding, our forecast. I was speaking to a number of members, and I've gotten this question quite a bit throughout the last year about how the South End is performing and the co-op as a whole is performing. I just want to rest assured to let you know that we are outperforming what we had forecasted. Granted, the South End store is a lot less cozy. The aisles are bigger, it feels more spacious, and it is. That we had planned for that, considering some of the comments that came from members, certainly for our very busy and cozy downtown store. I'd like to remind members to say the atmosphere in the downtown store in terms of that coziness, that is not normal. That is not normal. I have said here before about how when we were a one-store co-op, we were one of the busiest and the highest selling single store co-ops in the country. Who's counting? But we were second. And to have that type of traffic in a one-store environment is truly unique and perplexing. We like to use Whole Foods as a bit of a barometer within the co-op world. We were doing about 3.5 times what a successful Whole Foods does in the same amount of space. So the fact that we have gotten used to that is in itself amazing. Our focus around local food systems continues. And I'll certainly share some information on that. And then certainly our member work, thank you for all your member work. That is really a beacon and a guide and really a best practice that not only I think our greater community is following, but co-ops across the country look in amazement. And then last but not least, really the connections across the community. So with that, I'm going to briefly go through some stats. So first and foremost, our staff. I cannot tell you how amazing our staff are. I always have these moments. Our staff works so hard. I think for all of you who may know, with the downtown store, we open the store at 7, we close at 11. But do you know that behind the scenes, aside from Thanksgiving and Christmas, we are up and running behind the scenes all day, all night. It is unbelievable. With our South End store, we open at 7, we close at 9. The care that our staff put in place in the service, not only to all of you and to all of our customers, but to the community and to each other is absolutely invaluable and truly unique to the co-op. The fact that we were voted one of the best places to work for the second year in a row, it's a fabulous achievement. I don't want to certainly diminish that, but for us, it really is about something we've had in practice for a very long time. And as Fei referenced, we are constantly trying to adapt. We are constantly trying to improve. We talk about organizational evolution within the co-op. We are evolving. And so that's something that I think our staff, as challenging as it has been over the last 12 months, because it has, they've done an amazing job. So really, just a quick round of applause to really thank all of our staff here that represent just a small group of that staff. And certainly in the area of wages and benefits, we talk a lot about wanting to make sure that our staff are well compensated. We know we have more work to do. We talk about the importance of benefits. And as we progress and evolve, we will continue to focus to offer and make sure that our staff are well compensated. Next. So about the South End. It's been a hot topic over the last 11 months. It's really hard to believe that we will have been open by November 16th for 1 year. The South End store has really been, I think, a great success in many ways, but been very challenging as well. So from a financial standpoint, it has exceeded really our expectations. And that's certainly something that we take great pride in. I can tell you from a project standpoint, it is by far the largest cooperative project that has happened nationally in the last couple of decades. The project itself was $20 million as an investment. And I think I've talked to you over the last year about that's inclusive of the purchasing of the land, as well as the cleanup of that site, to which we have certainly received many accolades. So there was reference about our footprint. Just in the last year from the governor, we received the Environmental Award for Excellence. Just a few weeks ago, I went to Boston and had the honor to represent the co-op because we received the Environmental Merit Award from the EPA. We've also received a number of other recognitions from the BBA, the Architecture Award. We also won from New Hope, New Retailer of the Year Award. So we've received a number of recognitions, and I think that's all great, but I think what's most important to us was it was truly a collaborative effort. From the staff and looking at the design of that South End store, to working with our national partners, to talking to other co-ops. I can't tell you the number of times we reached out to co-ops in Austin, Texas, Wheatsville, in Sacramento in California, Outpost. A number of co-op partners really helped educate us and share best practices so that we could take all those into account. Along with obviously the 100+ I think, conversations we had with the community, whether they were one-to-one conversations or group conversations. And certainly Alison was very instrumental in organizing and coordinating those. We heard from the community and certainly from our members. And with the very close and very late night work we did with the board, I can't tell you enough, and thank really the board enough with the due diligence that we put into place. So in some ways, all that good, what I like to call karma and diligence, really resulted in a wonderful South End store. In terms of the others, I won't necessarily go into any details, but hopefully there's been much talk about the spacious parking lot. 115 spaces versus 68 in the downtown on a good day. Lots of member comments around product parity. I'd like to find this in the South End because you have it in the downtown. We are adapting, we are listening, and certainly we are making adjustments within the South End store. And I know that Fei talked a little bit earlier about the patronage refund. And so I just ask if you would be patient with us because we have planned to return to profitability in the next few years. We are doing all that we can to be responsible with the investment that you have given to us in your member investments to make sure that we can truly serve all of you and obviously most importantly the community at large as well. Another thing to mention, I think many of you may have heard or been part of our member loan campaign. It's been wonderful to see that we raised close to $1 million by a number of members. And really there was a tremendous amount of work, a collaborative bit of work from a member loan committee that consisted of members, board members, and staff all working very closely together with you to ultimately raise this money. And one of the questions I do get is, John, why wouldn't you have done this earlier before you opened the store? And truth be told, the workloads that our staff were carrying then and even now have been beyond comprehension. And it was one of the areas that we will admit that we wished we could have done this earlier. But at the same time, I think one of the benefits of having seen the South End store and what the loan was for, hopefully, might have prompted or incentivized some of you to see what that campaign was for. But thank you very much for all the members who supported us and members overall, because your equity into the co-op is all part of supporting our great work. Membership. So, I talked about how we've had a little over 1,000 new members, which has been fantastic growth. One of the stats that I do like to reference is when you look at membership 10 years ago, we had 2,600 members 10 years ago. Yes, 2,600. So when you put that in percent, in the last decade, we grew about 400%. It's phenomenal. And really, all of you are part of that, so thank you for that. If I go on to the Food for All program, so I hope many of you know this. This is really something that certainly the board and the staff pay very close attention to. About 10% of those 13,000 members are on some form of subsidized program, whether it be with 3 Squares or EWIC or the equivalent of a food stamps program. Those members are extremely invaluable to us as well as everyone. Healthy food access is a focal point for our co-op. And so, as you have noticed, we have really seen some significant growth over the last 4 years. And one of the great things is that we had conducted back in the tail end of 2017 some focus groups, because we started to see how we could potentially grow this even more. So for those who are on the Food for All program, you receive a 10% discount on your purchases. But based on that focus group study, we have introduced additional discounts for produce and bulk purchases at the store by an additional 5%, so 15%. That is an investment that we were very happy to make. We really want to continue to support, and I know there was reference earlier about the community at large. And I think for all of you who obviously know the history of the co-op, I think that is one of the strengths of City Market, that really we think about how can we serve everyone in the community. The next, with regards to sales, once again, the numbers are really unbelievable. Within that, one of the things that we certainly pay close attention to is the percentage of local food sales within the total sales. When we were a one-store co-op, we were averaging about 40% of our sales being local products. Local defined as products that were grown or predominantly manufactured in Vermont. Okay. That's not necessarily the definition for other co-ops per se. We have the luxury to be able to say it's within Vermont. As we have grown to a multi-store format, we've actually been able to maintain that 40%, and we certainly want to continue to grow it. The other thing is around our percentage of sales from members. We were averaging a little under 70% when we were a one-store co-op. As a multi-store co-op, we're now getting close to 70%. So not much has changed there, which I think is a testament to your amazing support and loyalty to the co-op, and for us to continue to work and listen to your thoughts and your needs in servicing the community. Just for reference, 10 years ago, the sales of the co-op was at 25 million. So we have close to doubled, and I can say for this financial year, we are seeking to exceed 50 million in annual sales, which puts us in probably the top 20 to 25 largest co-ops in the country. Moving on to community member work. Once again, phenomenal numbers. I think it is truly amazing to see how much volunteer work all of you continue to do for the co-op. So just to say that the member work is predominantly now taking place with our outreach partners. We have 25 nonprofit outreach partners, the likes of King Street Center, the Boys and Girls Club, the Intervale Center, and many others. And to see that growth from 15,700 hours to 17,000 is truly phenomenal. And once again, part of that is driven by some of the membership growth, but that's also the continued, I think, interest and really generosity of all of you in your time to want to serve the community. Second to last slide, Rally for Change. So there was reference earlier about the amazing Rally for Change numbers that we continue to see. And this is really out of your generosity. We are just the holders. We are collecting that. And as you know, every month we have 3 nonprofit partners, of which the food shelf, the Chittenden Emergency Food Shelf, is a 50% partner. And then the other 2 rotate, a 10% partner and a 40% partner. And so if you think about what we generated collectively here for the last year, over $250,000, unheard of. And the great thing is that other co-ops look at this and they go, I want to do that. How can we do that? So it's great to see how we can share those learnings. And once again, we too have learned from many other co-ops to get to this place. The last slide is really around some of the great benefits that the South End store offers. And I think you heard earlier that we have a wonderful teaching kitchen. It's really a dream come true. I think for many of you who may have taken classes at the co-op in the past, we were a little tight on space in the downtown. But in the South End, we very much, along with the community room that we heard from the community and wanting a gathering space, we incorporated a teaching kitchen. And so the number of classes as well as attendees has certainly gone up. But we've also made one change to continue to offer this service and make sure that also our instructors are being paid more to conduct these classes. And we've raised the price. So it used to be that a typical class price for a member would be around $5. That's been raised to $10. We think it's still very reasonable. And then for a non-member, it used to be around $10. It's now been raised to $25. The difference is obviously just 1 year's worth of member equity. And we really do hope, that we will have more members certainly join us. But the classes have really sold out almost every single month over the last 7+ months. It's been wonderful to see. We want to educate as many people as we can about the value of food, the joy in cooking, how food brings us together. So something that certainly we have a great passion with. And with that, a couple of final thoughts. There was a lot of reference to some of the staff training that we do around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I think for all of you, this may not come as a surprise, but in these days, with what's happening out in society, we certainly at the co-op, as we value our employees, as we value our members, our customers, and our community, really felt that we needed to invest in how we put this into action. So I can tell you for the last 18 months, we have arranged a number of staff trainings as a start for this journey as we evolve around some unconscious bias training. These trainings are each 4-hour sessions. And we have, at this point, probably 70% of our staff who've gone through them. The challenge with it is that we do have turnover. So as much as we think we've now gone through everyone, we have new staff members. So this is something that we're going to continue to do. But it's something that we really have invested in and will continue to do because we really think it's important. And so I would just say stay tuned because we very much will continue to invest. And even in the upcoming early November, we are actually arranging our first regional 7 co-op with board members, general managers, and the head of HRs to get together to have actually a day-long session around diversity, equity, and inclusion because we feel it's so important for the co-op network as a whole. The other thing I also wanted to mention was with all this work around expansion, we are working on a longer-term vision. And so hopefully by this time next year, we'll be able to share the vision with you. There's work that I've begun with our board members. Because for us, I think the growth over the last 45 years has truly been phenomenal. But as we look at even the near future, possibly in the next 7 years or so, we want to make sure we're clear in terms of where we are headed to. So just to say that we will be reaching out to members potentially during the spring onwards of next year to engage with you about our vision for the longer term. Last, but certainly not least, I can't say once again enough about the board. You know, they sit here quite patiently and have been so supportive of certainly myself and our greater staff. The amount of time that the board members have put in to the co-op is truly phenomenal, and it's obviously done on a voluntary basis because you've elected them. I have truly benefited from the guidance of the board, the challenging questions, the late nights, and the more challenging questions, and then really moving forward with a aligned and a collective view that really delivers ultimately on our mission, our ends. So really to thank the board here for your continued support, thank you. And then a final note before we open it up to some questions. I did want to just spotlight, so is Liz around by chance? Thank you. So I think hopefully all of you know Liz really coordinates the member meeting for us, has done this for a number of years. She does a phenomenal job. She helps outline all that needs to happen in advance. So really thank you, Liz, for all your fantastic work. And then also, Alison, once again, quietly on the right here. Alison, as well, continues to do phenomenal work. I think many of you know Alison for her great service to the co-op throughout the years, but certainly with the member meeting as well. Thank you so much for all your leadership. And then hopefully your tummies are a little fuller than when you first came in. The amazing work of our prepared foods team, Michael, our executive chef, and the prepared foods team, really thank you. They put in tremendous bits of work. So with that, that concludes the presentation. Once again, thank you so much for all of you for your continued support of the co-op. And at this point, we'll open it up to some questions. Yes, Larry.
Good question, Larry. So we have a 10% partner every month, and for those of you who have shopped at the co-op, okay, so Larry wanted to know how we choose the 10%, 40%, and 50% partners for Rally for Change. So way back in the day, really not that long ago, when you brought your own bag to the co-op, we donate 5 cents to a local nonprofit, and that was usually $900, $1,000 a month. And we had a waiting list of those folks, so that turned into the 10% partnership. So the 10% partnership is by application, sort of in linear fashion, nonprofits that aren't directly related to the specific work that the co-op is doing, whether it be food access or local agriculture. But we just pick from that pool and go in order. So we have about a 4 or 5 year waiting list for that. Yeah, there's a lot of nonprofits in the state and a lot of need for sort of one-time or anytime funding. The 40% partners rotate through our community outreach partners, and then the 50% partner has been the Chittenden Emergency Food Shelf. And because the program is just so gosh darn wildly successful beyond our dreams, we're actually having conversations this year about what's next? What's that next iteration of Rally for Change that allows us to deal with food access and poverty issues in a tangible way in the state of Vermont, that makes our members and customers feel good about rounding up at the register? What does that look like next? We'll still support all of the organizations we support on a regular basis, but what does that look like? And we're going to spend some time figuring it out. And you'll probably see, we'll roll out a customer survey in May, and you'll probably see some questions about that on there and what you think.
Thanks, Alison. Don, then. So. He's a great friend. He's a great friend.
John's
really,
a good man. This is a wonderful meeting. The turnout is fantastic. The food is great, and I see a few familiar faces, and I've really enjoyed my meeting. Thank you for having me here. That's what I have to say.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ed. Next, yes.
John, you talked about the wages and benefits that you're paid. I'd like to know what the spread is between the highest paid and the lowest paid workers at the co-op. If you're the highest paid, then it'd be yours. And then sort of when the contract is going to be over and how staff is going to be involved in the visioning with it.
Okay. So as it relates to compensation, unfortunately I won't be able to share with you the top end, but I can tell you that I am not the highest paid. But and by the way, I am totally okay with that because really, there's a tremendous amount of work that is being done by various members of our staff as a whole. In terms of the negotiations, so we have a union environment at the co-op. It's a very mature relationship, and the contracts can vary in terms of time periods. The current contract is a 2-year contract that concludes in June of next year. So leading up to that, there will be a negotiation that happens between the represented union team and the represented management team. And what's a little bit unique at City Market is, as the general manager, actually I am neutral to both. So I oversee and facilitate, but I'm actually not involved on either side because I represent the staff overall. That's a little unique compared to many other co-ops. But that's what I can say about sort of the compensation. And I hope you will respect the fact that I need to be confidential about wages. But we do have a wage scale for all the employees that are within the union because we have different grades. And then depending on length of service, that changes over time. And then I think just with regards to the visioning work, so as I shared with you, that is work that we have really just begun. And as part of our stakeholder engagement, you can imagine, yes, the staff are certainly going to be part of that work as well. So, and just as we worked very closely as staff for the South End expansion, we will do a similar approach with the visioning work where staff are certainly stakeholders along with members, possibly community partners, city partners, and such. But we want to plan that very thoroughly because, once again, the visioning work is something that ultimately shares where we want to go as the co-op. Yes? Oh, sorry, the lowest hourly pay wage. So the actual number, I believe, I'm wondering, I want to bring up here, if she's here, is Kim here? She is not here. Okay. Yeah. So can I'll take your details down, and I will come back to you with regards to, I just want to be precise in my response. Yes, yes. But we have a wage scale, so that will show the actual. Yeah. So before that, I know there was a question in the back. Adrian, do you have a question? Yes. I'm happy to share. I will follow up. I will follow up with the member. Yep. Next question.
Has there been any progress on supporting like phone payments on the terminals, advanced payment, or secure payments on the terminals?
The payment terminals.
At the checkout, just being able to pay with your phone or pay with other cards.
Yes. So we have made some great progress. So on two fronts. One is about 4 weeks ago, we actually have a new credit card system in the store that allows actually chip reading along in both stores consistently, along with that allows the e-WIC payment to be one process versus having a runaround. The second thing that we've done is we've also been able to make Apple Pay and Google Pay accessible on our terminals. So that is now, and once again, we are in the midst of just trying to make sure that that does operate smoothly, and then we will be sharing that information more broadly to everyone. Yep. Other questions? Yes.
So there are 6 people running for the board. There are 3. Oh, sorry. Yes. The question was how many slots are open on the board for all the candidates. So there are 6 people running for the board. There are 3 slots. So when you vote, you can vote for up to 3 people.
Any other questions? Yes. Say that again, Fred. Do I have a leadership succession plan? So currently at the co-op, I have 2 people that are designated emergency GM successors. That's also one of the reasons why I wanted to possibly introduce them this evening. So my first GM emergency successor is Kim Nolan, our HR director. And the second GM emergency successor is Eric Pierce, who is our director of operations. And I think I might have seen Eric here. Both were here maybe just up until a little while ago. Yep. Any other questions? Yes. So the question is the condition of the sidewalk and also whether or not there was any parking for staff being considered for the south end. So this is a question that has come up with us through customer comment cards as well. So at this point, we are still assessing staff parking in the sense that for the downtown store, we have not had staff parking in our parking lot. it has been challenging enough just to accommodate, obviously, members and customers. We took that same approach for the time being for the South End store, because we really wanted to see how the store would operate in the first 12 months. And once again, we haven't concluded that situation yet. I understand that, yes, early on when we opened the South End store, we literally had many customers and members even parking on Briggs Street, one of the few remaining dirt roads, maybe in all of Burlington, which is in very poor condition, which is one that the city is responsible for, and making essentially the parking lot look even emptier than it maybe should have been. Over time, we've seen more people parking in the parking lot, which is great because that's the reason why we built it. But with regards to staff parking, at the moment, we're still assessing the situation, whether or not we might look at staff parking or not. It's a slightly difficult situation in that we just want to be mindful that as the South End store continues to grow, and because it's exceeding our sales forecast, or it exceeded our sales forecast the last year, and we're just seeing continued growth, we just want to be mindful because we did receive quite a number of member comments when we designed the South End store about making sure parking was adequate. I think it was the very top request that came from members and customers. And I must say, when I stood out in front of the store when we opened on November 16th for 4.5 hours, I did not move. It was so amazing to see the joy in member and customer faces as they came into the door and they said, "John, we love your parking lot. It's phenomenal." And we really appreciated that because we were very, very mindful in making sure that parking lot would be adequate. So the story, that's a bit of a long-winded answer to say we are still assessing the situation. As it relates to the sidewalk, I think there are a combination of things. We have the city informing us that the Champlain Parkway is going to be happening, and saying it's really happening. It's not an if, but a when. We have had some challenges just wanting to make sure that when we designed the store, it would pass the requirements pre a parkway and post a parkway. And so that's been one of the challenges for us when we initially designed the store, and we're waiting to see when actually the construction for the parkway will begin. And I think as part of that, we certainly have committed a portion of paying for additional sidewalk space when that does happen, to ensure that there will be adequate sidewalks that will be leading up to the co-op. Yes. I mean, the question was that, it'd be great to have possibly a shuttle service that would possibly be able to orchestrate some of the movement across down Flynn Avenue. We had also been talking to CCTA to see whether or not some of the bus routes could be rerouted through. Unfortunately, that ended up being too difficult a discussion at this point from CCTA. We certainly are very mindful of traffic. It was one of the reasons why we conducted a traffic study estimating the increase of traffic, and it was something we worked very closely with the neighborhood and the city councilors, as Councilor Shannon and Councilor Mason, along with DPW, Department of Public Works, to the point where we had said that post the opening of the store, we would conduct a post-traffic study assessment to see whether or not our estimates would be at what we had predicted or possibly less or greater. We have concluded that work, and we had estimated higher, and so the actual results were actually lower from a traffic study standpoint, which I think has been reassuring to the neighborhood, but it continues to be something that we will monitor. And the reason why we also have only one entryway into the South End store that's off Flynn Avenue and not Briggs Street, because of concerns that we understand the neighbors had about possibly traffic cutting through the various streets in the community. Was there another question? So the question was around the excitement to compostable bags that are back now at the co-op. So this was a very challenging situation. We had compostable bags at one point. The distributor was going to not be able to provide them in future, so we actually explored other options. And it might be surprising to know that there aren't actually many compostable bag options that really are sustainable. And so we actually worked with an existing supplier, we had Foley, to come up with a compostable bag. We thought that it was going to work well, but we started hearing comments from members and customers that food that was not meant to be compostable, that was being put in these bags, were decomposing. And so we did our own study, and we found that to be true. So we discontinued that bag. And once again, I personally experienced that many a times, wondering, why is it composing? So we then went and did an expanded search to find a compostable bag, really based on a number of the comments we received from members and customers, alongside for us wanting to really be doing what was sustainable. And we have now settled on this compostable bag that we believe has been a great solution, and one that is financially sustainable for the co-op in the short and longer term. There's a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if the dirt road, is that part of the Parkway project too, or does the city have separate plans, or is that just
From what we understand, it is part of the Parkway plans. And so that's why it remains a dirt road for the moment, and hopefully in future, based on the Parkway plans, it will be transformed. Any other questions? Great. Well, once again, thank you everyone for coming tonight. We continue to appreciate your support, and we hope you have a wonderful evening. Thanks so much.